I don't think I've ever had a more spirited welcome than the one I got here tonight. I'm profoundly affected by it. I thought, first of all, I was running for political office. Usually you don't get this kind of response from somebody that's going to give you a factual, ideologically based presentation. So I really appreciate it. It'll probably never happen again, right? So, okay, we're getting started late, and that means that we should jump right into our topic. The topic really wasn't announced far in advance because it wasn't determined very far in advance. In fact, I don't think anybody was certain what I was going to be addressing tonight, including myself, until about 2 days ago. The question came up, well, what are you going to talk about? And I asked that question. They said, oh, about 30 minutes would be fine. Actually, I do have longer than that. But, so anyway, we thought about it, and I decided I was going to talk about something called the Quigley formula. So here's the plan. We're going to talk about the Quigley formula for the first major segment of this presentation. And then when I'm all done, I'll just sort of say thank you and step aside, and we'll take about a 15-second break while we just mentally close down that topic. And then I'll resume for a very short overview of Freedom Force International. It's really not my job here tonight to talk about Freedom Force International per se, but I can give you some highlights of it, and then introduce you to our members, many of whom are in the audience here tonight, and show you how you can learn more if you wish. And then we'll open up to questions, and then we finally all go over to the Brave New Bookstore and do whatever we do over there. So that's the plan, and I hope you stay with it all the way to the. So here's the Quigley formula. The actual title of this presentation, if it were ever to have appeared in a brochure, is this: The Quigley Formula, a conspiratorial view of history as explained by the conspirators themselves. So that's our title. It was show and tell day for the first grade. And all the little darlings had been told to bring to class with them something that they could show their classmates and talk about. So naturally, most of the kids brought toys, but little Johnny brought a brand new kitten with him. And of course, you can imagine it didn't take very long before the kitten dominated the attention of the class, and that was the highlight of the day. The question arose: is this a male kitten or a female kitten? A boy or a girl? And there was a great discussion about this whole thing. Some thought it was a boy kitten, some thought it was a girl kitten. Finally, the teacher asked the class, very cautiously, if anybody knew how to tell the difference between boy kitten and girl kitten. Well, silence fell over the classroom. Kids had no clue as to how to tell. And finally, little Johnny raised his hand. He said, I know how you can tell. The teacher got very nervous at this point. She said, well, how, Johnny? She said, well, my dad tells me that we live in a democracy. And in a democracy, you vote on important issues, and this is a very important issue, so I think we should take a vote on it. And, you know right away that was an American school, because it's true, isn't it, that all of us, including myself for sure, have been taught at an early age that we live in a democracy. I'm not quite sure what that is, although I was glad to hear our candidate speak earlier that this is not a democracy, it's a republic. But I wasn't taught the difference when I was in school. So we all have been told that this is a democracy and that we have fought several wars to defend democracy, and we're spreading democracy around the world, so it must be a pretty good thing, right? So we've all been taught that that's a wonderful thing, that majority rules, and the more important the decision is, the more important it is to put this to a vote. Well, the purpose of my presentation here this evening is to illustrate that this is a dangerous concept. It's a false concept, first of all, but it's an extremely dangerous concept because it can and has been used against the American people. It has been used to bring about the exact opposite of the image that they have in their mind of government ruled by the people. It brings about the exact opposite of government ruled by the elite. process by which that is accomplished is going to be more or less the topic of my presentation. Now, first we have to travel through some strange territory throughout history. As I mentioned, the topic is the Quigley formula. So first we have to answer the question, who is this man Quigley? I know many of you in this audience know exactly who. Let me just see a show of hands. Who know? How many know? Oh, I don't need to give this talk at all. If I make any mistakes, I don't expect you to information here. So, for those 2 or 3 here that do not know who he is, I should explain that his full name is Carroll Quigley. It's spelled C-A-R-R-O-L-L. And he was rather well known before he passed away a few years ago as a renowned history professor at Georgetown University. And he was the mentor of William Clinton when Bill Clinton was a student there at Georgetown. And they became very close as a teacher and student. In later years, when Clinton went into political life, you may remember that on the day that he received the nomination for the candidacy for the Democrat Party for president, in his acceptance speech, he mentioned the name of Carroll Quigley and gave him honorable mention. And several times after he was elected president, he also mentioned Carroll Quigley in his public addresses. And it was very important to him, for reasons I think which will become very clear shortly. It was important to Clinton to let the world know that he was honoring Professor Carroll Quigley. Now, why is this important? It's significant because Quigley taught the conspiratorial view of history as explained by the conspirators themselves. He was considered to be the historian of a conspiracy. He wrote about it, he documented it, he felt that he was a part of it, he admired it. As a matter of fact, in one of the key paragraphs in one of his books, he says that he was aware of this conspiracy, he had access to its private papers, and he respected it. He said, I had no aversion to it. He said, my chief difference of opinion, or difference with this group, is that they wish to remain unknown. That was his single difference of opinion with this group. So he was its historian, and he wrote several books about it. Now, before we get to these books and what he said, let's return to Clinton. You see, when Bill Clinton gave these speeches and went out of his way on at least 3 occasions of which I am familiar to let the world know that he was revering Carroll Quigley, it had 2 meanings. It had a hidden meaning and a public meaning. For the general public that didn't know anything at all about Quigley or what he taught or what he believed, they just thought, well, isn't it nice that here's this young fellow Clinton giving homage to a kindly old professor at Georgetown who had a profound impact on his thinking and his political development over the years. How nice. But for those who knew what Quigley taught and believed, they got the hidden message. Clinton was saying, hey, you folks that are on the inside, I want you to know that I know about this conspiracy, and I am now in its service. That was the hidden message. Now, I've used the word conspiracy already, I think, 2 or 3 times, and I know that's kind of a knee-jerk word, so let's deal with it now. A lot of people have trouble with the word conspiracy. They don't think that conspiracies exist. They don't think that people are rational who believe that conspiracies may exist today. And, they think that we're conspiracy theorists or something like that if we talk about conspiracy. Well, I feel kind of sorry for these people because that tells me that they've never read a history book. Because history is replete with conspiracies. In fact, when you think about it, there's not any major event in history that has occurred without at least one, in many cases, multiple conspiracies bringing these forces to the front. And certainly it's true today.